Well, first of all, Taoiseach, I'm actually shocked to hear that a Cabinet Committee dealing with children and youth affairs hasn't met since November. I mean, there are many groups who are suffering with their mental health, with stress and with anxiety as a result of the COVID pandemic and the restrictions. But one of those cohorts are our young people, very, very significantly suffering. And there's a lot of lip service paid to support people's mental health, but not a lot of action. And the fact the committee dealing with that area hasn't met since November tells its own story. There are more than 2,000 young people and families waiting for CAMS services, child and adolescent mental health services, often for months and months and months for their first appointment with a clinical psychologist. And last week we proposed one measure, and it will be voted on tomorrow, that would take a very significant amount of stress off young people. There are many sources of stress for them, but the leaving cert, the question of access to higher education is a very significant stress that is on them. And we proposed that you would do something simple, like make places available for all of the CAO applicants to higher level education, further education, apprenticeships, and remove the financial pressure and burden of fees. And you refuse to do that. So all the talk about supporting people, mental health, all the talk about what's going to change post-COVID, and in reality, nothing for our young people, nothing to actually support them through this extraordinarily stressful period.
First of all, obviously, just to say to deputies that because of the third wave of COVID-19, we took a decision to reduce the number of times we would meet at Cabinet Committee level. It doesn't mean that these issues came off the government radar or anything like that. Of course, the opposite is the case, particularly in terms of mental health and in terms of education, because there have been a number of specific meetings in the intervening period with the Minister for Education in respect of the Leaving Certificate in particular, and also with Minister Simon Harris. We did have a Cabinet Committee on Education, and we had a series of meetings with both Minister Foley and Minister Harris in respect of the Leaving Certificate and the return to schools more generally. And just to say to Deputy Boyd Barrett that I think your position is that we should provide places to everybody straight away. It's not achievable, and it's not doable. And it's very simple to say, and it's utterly ridiculous and cannot be done straight away. I would argue with you, okay? And you could create a lot of difficulties as well. What we have done, though, we provided 200 million for targeted places in apprenticeships and in a whole range of training opportunities for young people who may not wish to pursue further education or who may not wish to pursue third level. The Further Education College have got additional resources. We've created thousands of additional places at third level as well. So it's to provide a broad suite of opportunities to young people is key. The idea that you just open up the CEO to everybody who wants to do whatever they want, you need to think that through very, very carefully. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and could actually undermine actually the well-being and development of young people into the future. And I say that as an educationalist and someone who knows a thing or two about education. And I think you're kind of, we'll give you whatever you want when you want the type of approach to politics is not grounded, I think, in reality. I just have to say that. And I think in terms of, there has been reforms in terms of how the Leaving Cert operates. I support further reforms in terms of assessment, for example, and in terms of the modes of study and so on like that. But I think we do need to create opportunities across the board in further education, higher education, and in a range of other areas that people want to pursue. But one area that I think, just have to say to the House that, like Minister James Brown brought forward to government on Tuesday, and the draft National Youth Strategy, which is very much focused on developing opportunities for the disadvantaged young people, and particularly for young offenders. Because one of the areas where we do engage a lot in terms of the past, but we must be very focused on the present, and particularly those children who are very marginalised. And when you go through why they offend and why they get into offending, it's very clear there's a whole range of background issues, from addiction to family issues, that need intense resourcing and intense supports, and that will form part of the National Youth Strategy. And that's the kind of work that has been ongoing, and Minister Brown has brought forward a very comprehensive strategy in that regard. And the other area is school completion, which has been a passion of mine for a long, long time. I think we have to give every child born in the country an opportunity to complete second-level education and support and resource that. And that's something that we're very committed to also. Now, in terms of Deputy Kelly raised early education, which I agree with as a key priority. I think we need, in terms of the comparisons between early education and say the later years of primary, there's a long journey yet to go, in my view, in terms of equalising that out. But in terms of the JLCs and that, I think the government is committed to progressing that, and I know the Minister is, and in particular in terms of, again, supporting that entire sector, because the 0 to 3 age group is key to the development of any child. And one learns more between 0 and 3 than you do for the rest of your life. So that's something that we want to progress. On mental health, when the COVID Cabinet Subcommittee met, we had decided to provide even more additional resources to mental health, and particularly to non-governmental organisations. I think Mary Butler is putting huge effort into mental health. She's an excellent minister for that area, and is working extremely hard on it, particularly in the context of COVID-19, because without question COVID-19 is putting a lot of strain and anxiety on young people. And that is evidenced by the reports back from the non-governmental organisations in mental health that help young people and that assist young people. And we're very, very conscious of that also. And we've provided additional resources this year through the National HSE Service Plan to deal with waiting lists to CAMS and to deal with we've provided additional resources in terms of mental health more generally. In terms of Deputy O'Callaghan's question, again, I revert back to the Minister for Children in respect of that. We are willing to do our part in respect of the commitments that we have made. And when we make those commitments, we have to fulfil them, not just optically in the short term, but there has to be a comprehensive follow-through plan in terms of the well-being of those that we assist to make sure it's sustainable for the individual, children involved, and that we follow through on those commitments.